Everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another exciting edition of Graded. That's right, we watched AEW Dynamite last night and a lot of stuff happened. Various different storylines are carrying on the road to Beach Break, which I believe is 2 weeks away. But how good was this week's episode of Dynamite? You know that there is only one way to find out, and that is by assigning each individual segment a lovely individual grade. Just plop it on there and see how it does. That's right, it's time for AEW Dynamite Graded. We start things off with -1 from the Dark Order, aka Brody Lee Jr.'s birthday. All the Dark Order come out. He's on the shoulders of number 10. They're all like, yes, it's your birthday, mate. They set up a table. There's a cake on it. They light the candles. It's a very wholesome scene to start the show. And John Silva is twice as excited as usual because not only is it -1's birthday, but also at the same time, he says tonight is the night that a certain mysterious, handsome cowboy joins the Dark Order. But they are interrupted by Dr. Luther and Serpentico. Luther's on the mic. I don't think I've ever heard him speak before, actually, and his voice is not quite what I expected. It's a bit more, it's not a high-pitched voice, but it's a bit more high-pitched than you'd imagine from someone like Luther. It's just a bit more human, a bit more normal than you'd expect, possibly. So Luther comes out, he's like, whoa, dudes, what's going on? No, he's not. He's not. He's from Canada. What am I doing? But Luther essentially says, look, we hate children, right? Chaos Project, we hate children, and we're going to ruin your birthday. I've just realized who he sounds like. There's a touch of Lemon Grab from Adventure Time, if anybody's familiar. That is Luther, basically. This all leads to a brawl between Dark Order and Chaos Project, and TH2 run out to get involved as well. Everybody's fighting everywhere, and then, out of nowhere, Hangman runs out to join the fray, leaping off the stage onto the bad guys. And if anybody had threatened to ruin my birthday, I literally can't think of anybody better to ride to the rescue than Hangman Adam Page. I genuinely don't think there's anybody I'd rather have in that scenario. Eventually things settle down into an 8-man tag team match, so you've got Chaos Project and TH2 taking on the Dark Order team of Hangman, John Silva, Alex Reynolds and Colt Cabana. And the story here is again very much how well Adam Page works with the other members of the Dark Order. Him and Silva are just running around lighting guys up. At one point, both Silva and Reynolds get on Hangman's back and he drops them onto Serpentico on the canvas. It's an incredible show of strength. His knees were buckling slightly, but he's just such a man that he powered up anyway and he completed the spot. Hangman is running wild. The Babyfaces are definitely winning this match, but then Luther takes advantage of all the carnage by dragging Cabana up to the stage and he's about to powerbomb him through the table that the birthday cake is on. You can't be doing that. And -1 agrees because he dashes over to save the day with his kendo stick, hitting Dr. Luther in the back. That allows Cabana to turn the tables and hit a flapjack on Luther right into the cake. His face gets covered in cake, my god. And then for the remainder of the match, Luther's just behind them in the background on the stage covered in cake going, nah! It's really... It's really cartoonish, actually. There's some great double and triple team stuff back in the ring from Silva, Reynolds and Hangman, and eventually it's Reynolds who gets the pinfall off a big buckshot lariat into a German suplex by Hangman, and then Reynolds runs in and does the jackknife pin that he's quite good at, and that's enough for the victory. Up on the stage, -1 grabs the mic and cuts a savage promo on Serpentico for ruining his birthday, and then he bops him on the head with a kendo stick, and it's a big feel-good moment. He also says, you couldn't even ruin my birthday, it was 3 days ago, idiot. Back in the ring, Silva gets on the mic, and it's so funny. He just starts being like, Adam, you're so cool, you're so good at wrestling, you're really good and handsome and strong. And while echoing all of our thoughts, Silva is about to ask Hangman to join the Dark Order. He gets on one knee, even, and formally asks him if he'll become a member of the group. And Hangman gets the mic and goes, I can't. And just as he says that, it's like the Dark Order have prepared for him to say yes. So on the Tron, it's like, he said yes, and there's confetti and a parade starts to come out of one of the entrance tunnels, and then the rest of the Dark Order are like, get to the back. No, he said no. It's very, very funny, but then things take a bit of a sad turn because Hangman explains why he can't. He's like, guys, I used to be part of a group, and it didn't go that well for me, and I just think I'm better on my own. And then he leaves, and that's it. And John Silva's heartbroken. We're all heartbroken. But I do understand as well, because Hangman's been hurt before and he doesn't want to get hurt again. I saw a brilliant comment on Reddit about this on Squared Circle, where one person had said, why did Hangman go down the heel tunnel? They noticed he went down the heel entrance tunnel. And then the top reply to that was, because he thinks he's a bad person. Oh my God. This opening segment gets an A+, not only because it was just an incredibly joyous opening segment, there was -1's birthday, there was his involvement again, which really carried echoes of the Brody Lee Memorial show, which was just such a feel-good show. But also this gets an A+ because of the storyline developments afterwards. The whole thing with the Dark Order having already organised a parade was hilarious. Hangman's reasoning for not wanting to join is very understandable, but very dramatic and heart-wrenching as well. Yeah, this was just a great segment from top to bottom. Not like a 5-star match or anything, but it ticked all of the boxes. Next up, my boy Alex Marvez is backstage with Chris Jericho and MJF. MJF calls him Marquez, which isn't friendly at all, Maxwell. Leave my boy alone. And MJF is worried about tonight's main event, which is the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. He says to Jericho, are you not a bit worried about possible dissension caused by this match? And Jericho goes, no, Max, I'm pretty confident actually that we'll all move on together after this match is done. And we'll see about that later on, won't we? Next up, Tony Schiavone's in the ring to introduce Sting! Who, how does he do that every week? Who wants to congratulate Darby Allin on retaining the TNT Championship. You could just call him for that, mate, Sting. You could just call, WhatsApp. Here comes Darby Allin down to the ring and Sting says, congratulations, you remind me a lot of myself. And also, I just want to clarify that I didn't interfere in your match to try and turn the tide in your favour or give you any sort of advantage. I just wanted to even the odds because Team Taz were getting involved. And as soon as Sting starts saying that, he gets cut off by Team Taz on the trot. Taz accuses Sting and Darby of fighting dirty. Ricky Starks says, you know what, we're Team Taz, we're street guys. You want to take it to the streets? You'd never match up to us on the streets. And then Darby Allin gets on the mic and says, you want to take it to the streets, Team Taz? Be careful what you wish for, because it just might happen. This gets a B+ grade. I kind of like the booking here, and I haven't been a huge fan of the booking of Sting and Darby in recent weeks, apart from the match itself, which was brilliant, but I haven't liked the idea that Sting comes out and does very little and then heads to the back. Now he's got a bit of a purpose, and I think that this could be leading towards some sort of cinematic match, which could possibly hide Sting's flaws, or some kind of brawl kind of thing, which again would hopefully hide some of Sting's flaws in his age. I hope that's the case, and I'm quite optimistic so far, so B+ is the grade, and we will see where this goes. Next up, my boy Alex Marvez has been proving himself as the finest journalist in all of the kayfabe realm, because he's heard word basically that the Elite are going to have a meeting at Kenny Omega's house, and he's there, he's on the scene. He just rocks up at Kenny Omega's and he's there when the Young Bucks arrive, and he's like, Young Bucks, I'm just here as well, are you going in for the meeting? And the Young Bucks are like, what the hell are you doing here? But they head inside anyway. They're like, yes, we are here to meet Kenny, you might as well come with us anyway, Marvez. They head inside. Kenny's not there. They're greeted by Michael Nakazawa, who's by the looks of it acting sort of as like Kenny's butler. He takes them into a room to wait for Kenny, and on the wall there is a painting of Omega and Don Callis, which is the most ludicrous painting I've ever seen. Like, Kenny's there looking all ripped, obviously. They're both topless in jeans, but Callis is just as ripped as Kenny. It's really funny. Callis comes along in ultra like M. Bison supervillain mode in Street Fighter the movie, obviously, and he's like, oh, you like my painting? I got that commission for Kenny's birthday. He really appreciated the gift. What did you get him for his birthday, guy? It's really over the top, but it's good. Callis says, Kenny's not here, guys. Did you not get the memo? You know, did you not ring him? And they're like, yeah, we did call him actually. And Callis is like, oh, we changed his number, obviously. You mustn't have got the memo, yeah. And they're really angry, obviously. Callis gets Nakazawa to take Marvez and his cameraman to the dungeon, which is, you know, like a Hart family dungeon, I assume, which is only a couple of steps above a normal dungeon in terms of comfort. But he leaves his camera there, it's still switched on, Callis doesn't realize this, and we see the whole conversation in private between him and the Bucks. Basically what happens is Callis offers the Bucks a check and says basically, get yourselves out of Kenny's life. He's doing fine without you. Bye-bye. The Young Bucks are fuming at this, and Matt Jackson says, you know what? We used to work for that company that you're the vice president, executive, whatever, of Don. He means Impact Wrestling. And he says, I'm looking at this check right now, and I can tell you from my experience, this isn't going to clear, is it? Oh! And then they back Callis off camera, and it's implied that they beat him up, basically. So then later on in the night, at the arena, when Omega arrives for the show, he meets up with Don Callis, who's got a huge black eye, and Kenny's like, whoa, what happened? Who did this to you, Don? And Callis does a marvelous job of like pretending that he doesn't want to get anyone in trouble, doesn't want to reveal who it was, but then he goes like, it's nothing, don't worry, just Matt and Nick. Oh, And Kenny's like, Matt and Nick? And I'm like, oh, Callis, you slimy little man. This gets a B+ grade, very interesting stuff. I really enjoy the manipulation of Don Callis, or the fact he's manipulating Kenny Omega so successfully. It's really over the top, but I really like it as well. It makes them both seem so villainous and so horrible. Not sure that I buy the Bucks as the good guys in the story that much though, but at the same time, maybe they're not totally meant to be. Next up, we have Cody Rhodes versus Pretty Peter Avalon, as he is now known. And basically, on Twitter, Cody said he was going to beat Avalon in under a minute. Avalon said that wasn't going to happen. We'll find out who was right. Straight off the bat, Avalon charges Cody straight into a crossroads. Just an immediate finisher from Cody. It looks like he's going to fulfill his prediction on Twitter. And then Jade Cargill's music hits and she strides out onto the stage and Cody is fully distracted. So is the referee. So when Cody finally turns around, Avalon's there, kick to the balls, and Cody is down. And Jade Cargill is satisfied and she stalks off to the back. And from this moment on, Avalon kind of has control of the match. He hits a nice superplex at one point. He's working the leg of Cody a lot. Cody will sometimes kind of get back into things, like when he avoids a moonsault, but then he mistimes a leapfrog and Avalon just crashes into his already weakened leg. It's a unique way of giving Avalon control of the match without it being too far-fetched with the whole distraction at the start. And I think it was quite cleverly done. Avalon hits a big dive to the outside, he rolls Cody back in, he gets back in, hits the ropes, RKO out of nowhere from Cody, well, a Cody cutter. If we're going to be technical about it. Cody locks in the figure 4, Avalon looks like he's about to tap, but he rolls over and manages to reverse the pressure of the hold, but Cody rolls all the way back and it looks like he's about to win the match. So Avalon reaches up and kind of slaps him, Cody raises his hand to slap Avalon back, and Avalon just taps out instead. rather than getting slapped, he's like, no, that's enough for me. This gets a B grade. It was, as I mentioned, it was a unique way to give Avalon a bit of a fighting edge in this match while keeping it somewhat believable. And also the Jade Cargill stuff continues to mystify us. What's going to happen with Cody? Is she going to bring out Shaq, a beach break or something? I hope so. I want this storyline to move on, to kick into the next gear. Backstage now, Jurassic Express burst into FTR's locker room and Jungle Boy says, you know what, that match last week made me realise something. It made me realise that I could beat either of you one-on-one. And Dax Harwood steps up. He's like, I'm not having that, mate. I'm actually better than you and I'll prove that next week. And they're like, all right, okay, it's on then, it's on. And then Luchasaurus says, by the way, I'll be there at ringside to make sure there's no foul play from either you or you, pointing at, Tully and Cash Wheeler. Next up, we have Jon Moxley wrestling in his first match since losing the AEW title to Kenny Omega. He is taking on Nick Comoroto, who you might have seen on Dark. He's making his Dynamite debut, so this should be an interesting one. QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes are watching Comoroto. He's a student of theirs. He's a big lad. He's big, he's got loads of hair, he's just hairy. He's very intimidating, and Moxley has to resort to his brawling to get the advantage. There's a headbutt early on and there's big strikes, everything you'd expect from Jon Moxley, but Comoroto has easily the strength to just scoop him up and slam him down whenever he wants. And he's doing well, but at this moment they decide to show the ticker at the bottom of the screen of the results from AEW Dark this week, and on there, as Comoroto's beating up Jon Moxley, we see that Scorpio Sky beat Comoroto on Dark, so this match probably isn't going to go your way, Nick. Moxley fires up, big lariat, but Comoroto no-sells it totally. He grabs Moxley, Moxley scoots around behind onto his back, locks in the sleeper hold, and Comoroto is out cold. Jon Moxley wins, but we're not done. Moxley gets on the mic and says things are getting a little bit crazy around here. He can't work out who's in the Bullet Club or the Elite or with Impact or whatever the hell is going on. And he says that, Kenny, you thought you could bring your goons along from Tennessee, the Good Brothers, to basically get an advantage in this company and protect yourself. All he's done is make things a lot more interesting because I'm Jon Moxley and I love the violence. He bloody loves the carnage, everybody. Moxley says you can bring everybody from Nashville, you can bring Mexico, wherever you've got friends, bring them to this door because all roads go through me. This gets a B grade. I'm really excited about Comoroto in the future because he's got a lot of promise about him. He's got amazing size and a great look. I think that he could really go far. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. And Moxley's promo after the match was good as well. We go backstage now where Eddie Kingston is there with the Butcher, the Blade and the Bunny. He's cutting a promo about Lance Archer and the match he's going to have with him next week. But before he can say much, Lance Archer is there with Jake backstage right in Eddie Kingston's face. Archer accuses Eddie of being a coward. He says, you've always got these with you. And he's like, oh yeah, all right, okay then. And then they agree to have a one-on-one match next week with no interference. And then Lance Archer storms off and Jake says a few words to Eddie and then goes bite me, and then leaves, and Eddie's like, right, really cross now. Next up, 6-man tag team action as Matt Hardy and Private Party take on Top Flight and Matt Sydal. Sydal and Top Flight start off hot in this match. Loads of flippy stuff, needless to say, between these teams. Like loads of flips, lots of flipping around. But Private Party fight back using slightly more heelish tactics than usual. Examples of that would be like them knocking the illegal men off the apron when they're about to double team an opponent, or commentary just mentioning that they're being a bit more aggressive than usual. At one stage, Darius Martin hits a dive to the outside onto Matt Hardy and just kind of crushes him against the guardrail. It's a bit of a nasty blow for Matt. Back in the ring, Private Party go for the silly string, but Top Flight managed to avoid it. And then I think they hit the world's greatest tag teams move, Benjamin and Haas. It looks really good. I'm liking seeing that move back, if that's what it was. Towards the end of this match, Matt Hardy distracts the referee, and Isaiah Cassidy gets on the apron with a steel chair, hits Dante Martin, who falls down to the canvas, and Mark Quent hits him with a shooting star press. And the heels win. And I say the heels win because, yeah, this looked like a turn for Private Party. Top Flight are obviously angry after the match. They get in Private Party's faces, and Private Party just beat them down. And Matt Hardy joins in as well. He hits a couple of twists of fate, and that's it. Private Party are the baddies now, and that's really sad. This gets a B+ grade. Now, the match wasn't totally for me. There were a lot of flips in this match between both teams, and that meant that sometimes the pace slowed down a little bit while they were setting stuff up, etc. But it was still a good match. The thing that was more impressive to me was the interesting booking afterwards. Where's this going to go? It's even more interesting developments on this week's Dynamite. A lot of developments on this one. Backstage, MJF and Wardlow head into the Inner Circle's locker room. They're all in there apart from Chris Jericho, and MJF just wants to check with everybody that we're all going to be fine after this tag team main event between all of us. Sammy gets in his face and he's like, look, I don't trust you. I think you're an absolute snake. And MJF's like, look, we've been going at it for way too long. I need you to trust me. I want what's best for this group, and nothing in this match is going to change that. And then MJF dishes out fist bumps to everybody, but Sammy turns his down and says, we're not there yet. Next up, we get Penelope Ford versus Leyla Hirsch. Obviously, out with Penelope Ford is Kip Sabian, Miro, and Charles Taylor, the butler. It's Chuck Taylor, but he lost to Miro, so he's got to be his young boy. And he pulls off a tuxedo well, man. Leyla Hirsch starts off this match strong. She's just rolling Ford everywhere. Ford hits a cheap shot. Leyla Hirsch kips back up. She's really dominating this match, but when she hits the ropes, Chuck Taylor on the outside grabs her leg under instruction from Kip Sabian. It's not right. And that's the pattern of this match, really. Leyla Hirsch being the stronger athlete, but, you know, things happening outside of her control to turn the tide in the favour of Penelope, like Sabian distracting her at one moment, and that allows Ford to just hit a big boot and take control of the match again. So Leyla Hirsch gets sick of this. She sets up Penelope Ford on the canvas for like some kind of top rope move, but when she springboards up, she pauses on the top rope and thinks, no, I'm going that way instead, and hits an amazing dive right onto Sabian and Taylor on the outside. I've never seen her do anything like that. It was really cool. But when she goes back in the ring, Penelope Ford cuts her off. 1, 2, it looks like either Leyla Hirsch gets her foot on the bottom rope and Sabian pushes it off, or he pulls Penelope Ford's foot onto the rope for leverage, and I'm not quite certain which one it was. This all happened lightning fast. Maybe the timing was a bit off, maybe somebody messed up at some point, I'm not quite certain. But basically, Penelope Ford wins, and some sort of cheating occurred. In the ring, Miro gets on the mic and has Chuck Taylor with him and says, look, I'm not going to make you do loads of horrible things because I'm not a bad guy. In fact, I'd say I'm your best friend, right? So why don't you look, and Orange Cassidy's in the crowd, by the way, why don't you look at Orange Cassidy right now and tell him that I'm your best friend now? And Chuck's like, oh, and he really doesn't want to do it, but he has to. So he looks at Orange Cassidy and says, Miro's my best friend now. And Orange Cassidy takes off his sunglasses and just walks sadly away. Oh my god, I can't deal with this storyline. This gets a B grade, good match. Bit of a weird finish maybe. I'd have to watch it again. I'm not sure if there was a mistake or not. Let me know what you thought in the comments, please. But the aftermath, oh, so effective. I feel so bad for Chuck. I feel so bad for Cassidy. I feel so bad for the lads. We cut backstage now where the Good Brothers are there, and they are beating the hell out of Penta backstage. Kenny Omega comes along, he joins in, takes off his boot, starts using it to batter Penta even more. Penta's down and out. But why? Why has this happened? Well, later on we understand that Tony Khan books a match for the main event of Beach Break. It's going to be Phoenix, now there's no Penta, so Phoenix, Pac and Moxley against Kenny, Gallows and Anderson. And now it's time for the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge with the proud and powerful Sammy and Hager and Chris Jericho and MJF. And I've criticised in recent weeks the contractually obliged Judas sing-along, isn't this the best song we've ever heard? But Jericho and MJF made their entrance to this awesome mashup of both of their themes put together. It's really, really good. Oh my God, I can't actually explain how good it is. I've not felt this way since Holiday faded into Boulevard of Broken Dreams. As Sammy and Hager make their entrance, they get a shout out from Sammy Hager of Van Halen. So he's there, not in the crowd, he does a video message saying, oh, good luck to my favourite tag team. I'm like, all right, okay, this worked out quite well. Jericho clearly using his contacts in the rock and roll world, guys. Sammy wants to start this match with MJF. MJF tags out to Jericho, and Jericho and Sammy start wrestling. There's a clean break between the two, because they still have respect, because they were a tag team together, remember? But then Jericho slaps Sammy, and Sammy starts running wild on Chris EJ. At one point, he's got him outside the ring. He hits the ropes, he goes for a big dive, jumps up to the top rope, backflips off, poses in the ring, and he's faked out Jericho, and Jericho's been served by his own apprentice, really. And the match progresses, and MJF's been kind of staying out of it. I don't think he's tagged in at any point, but eventually he does, just at the wrong time, because Hager tags in on the other side of the ring and just takes out MJF and starts running wild on everyone. MJF distracts the ref, Jericho gets the baseball bat, Hager stops him with a big boot, MJF gets the Dynamite Diamond Ring from Wardlow on the outside, Hager looks at him and stops that with just a big right hand, doesn't need a diamond ring, he's got huge fists in that and he's an undefeated cage fighter. Then Jericho tags in and kind of messes up a lion salt. I felt quite bad from here, it was quite scary, but he does eventually land it, but his neck came really close to the canvas. That was a bit of a hairy moment. Code breaker to Ortiz, but Ortiz manages to kick out. Hager hits a Hager bomb on MJF, Sammy's up top, shooting star press, 1, 2, Ortiz breaks it up. I thought that was the match done. That was a very convincing near fall. Sammy gets Jericho on his shoulders, GTH, Jericho is down and out. Sammy sets up MJF for the same move. Wardlow hops up on the apron, distracts Sammy for long enough that MJF slips down off his shoulders, rolls up Sammy, big handful of tights. And MJF and Chris Jericho win the Inner Circle Tag Team Challenge. But what are the Inner Circle going to think of this? And we don't know yet, because the show goes off the air. This gets a B+ grade. It was generally a very entertaining match, but at certain stages I felt like Jericho either got his bell rung at one point or was just kind of gassed and struggling to keep up with the younger and faster competitors. And obviously, you know, that's no criticism of Jericho. Some of these guys are world-class wrestlers, and Jericho's, how old is he now? Is he in his 50s yet? So I'm not trying to throw shade on Jericho or anything. I just felt like at certain stages, especially the lion salt, it was like, oh, take it easy, Chris, maybe limit your involvement a little bit in this match. But regardless, B+, it was very entertaining, and I can't wait to see what the fallout is. Sammy was getting some babyface reactions in this match, so I wonder if that's the direction moving forwards. Overall, this show gets a B+ grade. I thought there were lots of interesting developments going on, a lot of simmering storylines bubbling away nicely as we approach Beach Break in 2 weeks' time, where I think a lot of things will come to a head, or we'll see the next stage before what looks like it's shaping up to be a huge Revolution card. So a B+ show, not like a top tier Dynamite or anything, but one of those necessary ones to move things along, and it was still pretty entertaining anyway. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of Dynamite, and of course, stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.